Good morning and welcome to the Magpie Sunday supplement on a weekend in which Notts have tasted defeat, had a player sent off, and are out of the top three automatic promotion positions. Not a great weekend all round. Your thoughts and views, please, for those of you at the game or maybe watching it from abroad. Grimsby win, excuse me, 1-0. I guess everything focuses on the red card for Lee Ndlovu. It means he gets a 3-match ban as it stands. I, like many of you, I'm sure, have been studying this, the grainiest piece of video and trying to assess amount of contact, intent, studs up, all of those sorts of criteria. Look, for me, was never a red, but I don't think we're going to be able to appeal it either. And it sounds a tad controversial, and we'll welcome your views on this. I thought up until that he brandished the red card, I thought the ref had done fine. I thought he tried to let the game flow. I wouldn't have had any complaints. Yet the red card came out very quickly, I think, as Mark Stellard will tell us on Monday evening in our Magpie Circle show. Stell's view is that the ref kind of didn't give himself any time. He reached for the red card immediately to brandish it, almost like, he's got something new out of the shopping trolley. There he goes. Didn't give himself time to think. And clearly, once that has happened, the whole dynamic of the game is going to change. And it did. And it's rubbing salt into the wound that Grimsby got the goal 5 minutes from the end of the match. Long range strike, bottom corner. Leaves us out of the top three, although most of the teams didn't pick up too many points yesterday. Cambridge and MK Dons drawing, Swindon drawing. I guess the big winners were Bromley. 1-2-1 against a 10-man Accrington team. They've got a 6-point cushion now. Don't know what the rest of you think. I'm also not of an opinion that this is just a 5-horse race for 3 promotion places. I still think the likes of Salford with a game in hand, despite a recent terrible run. They got a result at was it Shrewsbury yesterday? I still think they're in it. I wouldn't even rule Chesterfield out. There's a quarter of the season still to go. I don't think 6-7 points is necessarily, in the context of a quarter of the season, that big a gap. But clearly, reality check, call it what you will. Bitter disappointment and frustration as a result of that 1-0 defeat at the hands of Grimsby. Send us in your thoughts and views. Thanks as always to our official partners, Over the Road, the Big Shed and Trent Navigation, as well as JH Accountants. Good to see so many of you in Over the Road before the game yesterday. Congratulations to the young man that won the James Belshaw shirt in the free raffle. A shout out for Kieran. Kieran was a regular follower of us. From New Zealand. Didn't post too many messages, but he was based out in New Zealand and followed us for a few years. Well, he's now back. He's moved back to Nottingham, so he stuck his head into the Over the Road, said hello yesterday. So welcome to Kieran, and thank you to everyone for giving a lovely round of applause to Tony Cuthbert's family who were in the Over the Road yesterday. Tony having passed away recently and his funeral having taken place at Trent Valley Crematorium last week. Okay, that's the opening gambit. Let's dive into the message boards and get some thoughts and views. Harvey E, how many more glaring misses? Iapenda's was as bad as Dennis's recent howlers. I could have cried. Can't fault the lads for effort, though. Richard Elvian, having watched the replay, the sending off to me looks like a clumsy coming together. What's the chances of a successful appeal? Not good to see a clearly distraught Ndlovu leave the pitch after. In his post-game interview, Martin Patterson described the challenge as a tired challenge. I think he was running on fumes, was Lee Ndlovu by that moment. Again, Mark will tell us tomorrow, Mark Stallard, doesn't blame the Grimsby striker at all. Went down. Stell candidly admits it's the sort of thing that any professional would do, the sort of thing that he would have done. In effect, good play was how Mark described it. He's gone down under the challenge. There clearly was a level of contact. He's gone over. I suppose technically you would argue he's gone over the ball. I don't think there's any chance of an appeal. And as some of our posters are pointing out when I read them out, that's a 3-game ban at a time when we are still unsure about the return of Alassane Jatta. Last I'd heard, which is a couple of weeks ago now, that the club were trying to get him back for the Walsall game, which of course is next week. Have no idea whether he is on schedule or not. As it stands, we have one fit striker on the books at this moment in time in Matty Dennis. So clearly, we could do with Mr. Jatta being available next week. Andy Eastham, morning everyone, could well be down to a single striker, he confirms, for the next 3 games. No skipper or Ollie Norburn. Should I be worried as we enter the final dozen games? Should we be worried? I think we've got to be concerned, haven't we? And I detect also there is already a change in our January transfer business. I think it was mostly a thumbs up at the end of January. 1 or 2 injuries, bits and pieces since. Some people saying it wasn't a good January transfer window. Greza Maxwell, it's not all doom and gloom. Worst case scenario, playoffs. We're too far ahead of Chesterfield in 7th unless we totally capitulate. We need to push for autos, but I'd take the playoffs, considering a majority of supporters thought we would be mid-table at the start of the season, with the recruitment and the uncertainty of an unknown quantity for our manager. Not all the top 6 are going to go unbeaten from now to the end of the season. So it's still wide open. Disappointed, yes. Worried, no. Yeah, I think very wise words from Greza. All I would say, Greza, is when you start almost accepting second best and contingencies, for me, sometimes that's a slippery slope. Look, for me, objective is autos, can be nothing else. And I think I've gone on record as before, anything other than the top 3 this year, for me, I think it's a failure in the context of the previous 2 seasons that we've had. Somewhere along the way, we need to get over the finishing line while it's still 4 promoted teams out of this division. And let's not kid ourselves. This is the weakest division it has been since we've been back in the Football League, without doubt. We've got the biggest crowds in the division, fantastic supporter base. We've actually got 2 goal scorers, which is hard to get. It's hard to get. In Jatta and Dennis, we have got 2 of the best strikers in this division, both at our club, not one. And if we're scoring goals and we're decent at the back now, I think if we don't get automatics this year, we need our backside kicking, if I'm honest with you. We're going through a struggle with injuries at the minute, as every single team in this division does. Can't just keep moaning and saying we've been unlucky. Get the job done. That said, I think yesterday, probably the single biggest hurt for us was that we didn't have either Norburn or Palmer in midfield. I think, I'm not sure if it's the first game, there's only been 2 or 3 at tops where we've played without either of them in midfield. They are a little bit like, for me, the heartbeat of the team. And, we weren't ticking, for me, in rhythm yesterday for large proportions of the game. I think Matty Palmer has been back out on the pitch training. Certainly been some footage of him last week. How intense that training is that he's taking part in, don't know. But I think we desperately need one of those two next week. Scotty Robertson's done brilliant since he's coming back. Still finding his feet a little bit. But for me, a Palmer or a Norburn, they've got that bit of nous. They recycle the ball, they move it around, and they make the simple pass. They know when to make it, how to make it, and a lot of that often goes unnoticed. And I think Norburn is a master of when to put the tackle in to slow the game down. So yeah, I think we need some players back, but I don't think we can just turn around and say we're missing players, we're unlucky. Every single team in this division over the course of 46 games is going to have the same problems, every single one of them. Greza, sorry, I've just read Greza's out, haven't I? Richard Elvian. We started the season with only one striker and did okay. We had Platt playing as striker yesterday later on too, so nothing to worry about, he says. While it's no time to panic, says Ian Cooksey, it seems that unless it's a penalty, an own goal, or a mistake, we just don't seem to have the nous to create a goal. Ian Cooksey, we are now down to one striker against three teams we couldn't score against the first time we played them. So slightly worried. By the way, why was Anoro brought on to replace Macari? In my opinion, a poor substitution. Tim Watchorn, morning. 3 points lost and a 3-match ban, a high price to pay for a very dubious decision. Greza Maxwell and the York City and Stuart Maynard Appreciation Society group have been on again. Did anyone see Stuart Maynard's York pull the rabbit out of the hat in the 98th minute against Morecambe? At the top of that race, which to me is becoming reminiscent of Wrexham and Notts County, York have now moved ahead of Rochdale. Both won yesterday, but Rochdale do have a game in hand. Richard Hawksworth, morning, Rich. I think we are seeing the effects of having 2 to 3 big players out. Need them back as soon as possible. Big bounce required in the next 2 very tricky games. Rich goes on, not all doom and gloom. Fine margins in their 6-yard box yesterday could have been very, very different. JJ Aviation, morning, Paul. The game was looking like a bore draw until they scored from a narrow angle. Not much Belshort could have done. We move on to Walsall. And JJ Aviation adds, don't panic, folks. Autos is still on. Kay says, worrying, we only have one striker in Dennis. I cannot see the red card being overturned, she says. Rosie Mans, morning all. I am so, lots of O's in so, disappointed. Bob H. MP seems to have a dislike of Macari, regularly hooks him now, yet one of the most consistent performers. Awful substitution, that. Yeah, we did talk a bit about that with Stout in the Over the Road before the game yesterday, Bob. And, for me, I think Martin has shown a great deal of faith in Lewis. I think it's fair to say he wasn't top of the pops at the start of the season. He had the betting charge hanging over him. And it was my understanding that Lewis was one of the players that was kind of said, if you want to find another club, we won't stand in your way. Bit of a euphemism, if ever there was one. Yet he's worked his way back into the team. And, he's played 15, 20 games on the bounce now, started. And sometimes a lot of people would say with your Ness and McDonald, go with a land of the giants approach with 3 centre halves. But when McDonald and Ness have both been available, he's still stuck with Lewis Macari. I take your point. He's kind of, inverted commas, an easy substitution to make, but he's starting the games. He's starting the games. Uh, Shelley Ashton, morning. Nice to see you yesterday, Paul. Yes, saw you just after the game, didn't Shelley? Shame it wasn't under winning circumstances. Kay says, have we got enough quality in depth? I think Grant and Maz Kuyar were both poor yesterday. I suspect Martin Patterson, in terms of the 45 minutes, agreed with you, Kay. Both came off at half time, didn't he? And he did mention that some performances were below par in that opening 45. Kay says the ref suddenly lost the plot. Obviously, the red card being the initiating the losing of the plot. Ian Cooksey. This time next week, we could be reasons to be optimistic, part 86. This time next week, we could be 13 points behind Bromley. Brackets, they play in the week, which means that we will have 2 places to go for rather than 3. Makes the job slightly harder, but we can still do it. PJ Defiance, morning all. Again, the curse of not being bold in the January transfer window is going to hit us with squad depth. Wayne Wilkins, Wayne is our resident StreamYard expert. Do 2 thumbs down, holding for 5 seconds for an accurate reaction of yesterday's result, Paul, if you have set the settings up correctly. Hang on. Right. Do 2 thumbs down, hold for 5 seconds. Very good. I'm going to do that again. Hey, it's raining. It's raining on my head. It's raining on Notts County. There we go. There we go. Showers, eh? Pete Feenstra, what injury does Jatta have? Yeah, closely guarded secret, locked away in some dungeon somewhere, Pete. I believe it's his knee. I believe it's his knee. Lippy Jane, at least there's some sunshine today. Ian Cooksey, it's a knock, allegedly. Must be a bad one, says Ian Cooksey, as he has already missed 6 games. I think we said before, haven't we, that Alessandro is a powerful 6'4" guy. When he takes injuries, he's not necessarily the kind that he's not suffered the kind of injuries that you miss 1 game and he's back. He does tend to be out for a little while. If you will recall, he had the issues with concussion. He had 2 concussions. Was it last year, year before? And he was out for a while with those. So we need him back. There's no 2 ways about it. We need him back. Derek Flowers, yesterday was one of those games where if we had 12 players on the pitch, we wouldn't have scored. Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. It's so easy, to just get a little bit carried away because we've lost 1 game and then join dots up from previous matches. You know me, I judge every single game by the result and very little else. I did think we were a shade unlucky yesterday, and bear with me, but as Martin said, first half we weren't at it, but we weren't outplayed, and by and large the 2 teams cancelled each other out, but we were a little flat. I think Martin used the phrase of lacking juice. We weren't really at it, but that's fine. It's 0-0. You kind of knew Martin would give him a volley, inject a bit in the second half. He made the double substitution, which I think helped, and we kind of got ahead of steam up, didn't we? We got ourselves going. We started to lay siege to the Grimsby goal. We got the tempo going. We put a press on them, with them. We stopped them bringing the ball out as easily as they had managed in the first half. We got it going. Jody Jones put some great low crosses in. from the left. Tom Iapenda did from the right, and they were an assortment. They were perfect crosses that fizzed along that 6 yard in between, just on the edge of the 6 yard line. The keeper can't come, the centre halves can't get them, and unfortunately for us, the one from Jody Jones where Iapenda's completely missed it as the ball skidded off, obviously should score. It's an empty net. And then there was a couple in where Tom Iapenda was the provider, and he's put them across the face of the box. And I think there were two, and you would really be looking at a Matty Dennis or somebody else getting on the end of those. And I looked as the ball fizzed at the back of at the far post. There was no one at home for Notts. No one at home. Our most advanced player was like about 8 or 9 yards out. And I think that was what Martin was alluding to. And they are the sort of goals that you score them and people don't say too much about them for the striker. All about being there. All about being there. And that cost us. And I don't think Grimsby would have got anything out of that game until we had the red card. And the moment we had the red card, I think me, everyone around us thought, all of a sudden, as opposed to we're getting the 3 points, it's, oh dear, we've got a bit of a battle on for 1 point. Martin went bold, and I think one or two people have commented on Bekray and Noru coming on, whether they thought that was a wise decision. But I think Martin said afterwards, he was going for the win with 10 men. He was going for the win with 10 men. They get a goal, long range strike, bit undecided. Probably should have closed him down earlier. Hit the bottom corner. Fair way out. Not sure. But without the red card, we don't lose that game. So in that respect, I thought we were a tad unlucky. That said, as others have said, we should already be in front. Even if that red card takes place, we should have been 1 or 2-0 up at that point in the game. And I know 1 or 2 Grimsby fans have sent me some messages. Yes, James Belshaw made a couple of very smart saves. There's the header from the corner, wasn't there, which was a point blank reflex save. So it wasn't the case of if Grimsby didn't have chances before that. I agree. I thought the momentum was with Notts until we got the red card. There you go. That's my synopsis of the event. We'll hear what Mark Stallard has got to say on Monday evening. Pete Feenstra's joining the York City. Look at York City, creativity, strikers that score, not too many injuries, and consistency. I will counter that. I wouldn't disagree with any of it, Pete. I will counter that, Mr. Feenstra, with there's levels in this game. And the National League is a long way off the Football League. As we found out in our first season back, didn't we? As we found out. Rosemary Mans, we need to go up. So many clubs nearby to play, and we will get big crowds, equals great gate money and loads of away game opportunities. We have to do this. Yeah, I mean, we are reaching a point, I think, Rosemary, where we need to cross the finishing line. We need to. I don't think you can keep going close every year and say, well, we'll do a bit better next year because we've got more experience of it. Football, what's that phrase that all those football statos use? Linear. Football is not linear. You go up, you go down. You go up, you go down. When you're up, you've got to take your chances. Lippy Jane, I knew this one would come up. Yeah, saw Lippy yesterday. A Didsey hat-trick, David McGoldrick hat-trick for Barnsley. Just saying, yeah. Where's the other people that say he wasn't fit enough, couldn't do it anymore, and it was the right decision to release him, okay? For as long as everyone keeps banging on about Stuart Maynard at York, I'm going to keep banging on at any available opportunity about David McGoldrick, okay? Mrs. Magic Boots Ghana, morning all. Obviously, a more difficult path ahead now with one striker and crucial injuries. Do I feel concerned, Re-Autos now? Yes, but other teams will have issues too. Lippy Jane, unsure that Pato should have done the last batch of subs. Greza Maxwell, we can't let it go with some of our former players, can we? Keller Roos let in 5 yesterday. Rosemary Mans, dark arts in play. Their goalkeeper going down. Martin sounded rather meek in the after-game conference. Put 3 subs on at wrong time and wrong type. We should have got a 0-0. Yeah, the goalkeeper going down. It's becoming farcical now, isn't it? It is big. I would love doing me Kevin Keegan. I would love that referee yesterday. He makes a controversial red card for Lee Ndlovu. Everybody knew, because Notts had one of their best spells of the game, that there'd been an instruction for the goalkeeper to go down. Okay. And so the shot comes in, he catches it, and then tries to feign he's slightly pulled, I don't know, an adductor muscle or something as he's going down with the ball. Hand goes up. Everybody in the ground knew there was nothing wrong with him. I'd have loved it. The referee had just gone over to that player and given him a yellow card. Simulation. Don't worry about the injury. Just say simulation. Pretending to be injured. Simulation when you dive. Yellow card. And it's a brave decision. I'd love to know what would happen after that. Can you imagine? So the referee goes over to the player. Can't move. He goes, yellow. Then what happens? Does the goalkeeper suddenly get up, forgetting he's not really got an injury, and starts remonstrating with the ref and then goes down again? Does the manager rush out of the dugout going mental? The other players surround the referee, in which case give them a yellow as well. I promise you, he won't go down again between then and the end of the game. And they've lost the opportunity to break the play up for 3 or 4 minutes. It might be a minute, might be 2 minutes by the time you've got it sorted. But there'd be so much media coverage about it. It'd spark wholesale debates on the media saying, actually, the ref's right. Yeah, because everybody knows that player is not injured. Everybody knows that. It won't happen, but a really brave ref could make a real name for himself by doing that. What else have we got in? Ian Cooksey, who is obviously monitoring Kelleru's goals concession record in the SPL. Kilmarnock have let in 3+ goals in 5 of the 7 games. To be fair to Keller, Ian, they must have had about 2, literally a player sent off every game. I think there were 9 men with one game. So their discipline isn't great either. St Helens Magpie. Palmer and Norburn are massive misses. The inconsistency with the number 10s is also a major issue. None of those who have played there have done enough. Yeah, Greza and Ian having a Kelleru's dissection from yesterday. They've been watching the Kilmarnock highlights. Hey, look, right now we've got enough problems at Meadow Lane with injured players than worrying about our loaned out goalkeeper in Scotland. Andy Easom, if fit, surely Harrison Iwunzi has to come into the fold. We don't know what he's been doing on the training ground and whether he's ready. But I understand the sentiment, Andy. Lippy Jane. Dennis very nearly lost his head and Pato tried to calm him down. Pretty sure he tussled off the ball. Yeah, he did look very aggrieved at something. And I couldn't work out whether there had been a dust-up with one of the Grimsby centre-halves. Did anyone see it in the flock? Actually, what happened? He needed a bit of calming down. And their manager was certainly giving it some. and it happened not far from the Grimsby dugout. So didn't see it myself. I just kind of saw the reaction, not the actual incident. Vaughan Matthews. Vaughan from Sherborne. We seemed to lack discipline and precision. Yet again, we gave the ball away with too many bad passes. Such a shame, as it was a game that we could have taken valuable points. Andy Eason had to smile this morning reading that Ian Holloway was dismissed from the touchline yesterday. Comment by his opposite number, Steve Evans, stating he was uttering naughty words, pot and kettle. You'd pay just to have kind of a cam in the dugouts, wouldn't you, for a battle between Ian Holloway and a Manjaro eating Steve Evans. Kay says, we got going, then what happened? The goalkeeper went down. Must be stopped. Look, it's within the rules, so you can't blame Grimsby for doing it. You'll remember me for one. Was it Shrewsbury away? Start of the second half, we were getting battered, and I'd said, Belshaw needs to go down. Needs to go down to slow the momentum. He didn't. We were honest, in inverted commas. They got a long throw or a corner and they scored. You know, if it's not breaking the rules, clubs are going to do it because this is professional sport and you will do whatever it takes. End of, which was kind of my point with regards to referee booking a goalkeeper or whatever it is that suddenly changes the status quo at the minute. Every single head coach manager knows that if his team is taking a beating, right, goalkeeper goes down. Tranmere did it at Meadow Lane the week before, mind you. They were losing 4-0, so it was probably a bit too late as as the goalkeeper was baited by the cop, if I remember rightly. Evans and Rayner are both kings of the wind-up, and it obviously worked again with Holloway, says Mr. Cooksey. Magic Boots Agana. I was going to ask you about this. Don't know how much more disappointed we were, the defeat or having our flight cancelled due to issues in Iran. Hope anyone out in that area or work or on holiday or stays safe and gets back okay. Well, apologies. I do remember, Magic Boots Agana, you said that you were going to Singapore, I think. So you'd probably been going via one of the Middle East hubs. And yes, and obviously large numbers of the flights into the Middle East have all been cancelled as a result of the Iranian situation yesterday. So apologies for that. Does that at least mean you can now get tickets to go to Walsall next weekend? I don't know. I'm not sure whether Walsall, the Bescott Stadium or whatever it's called now, quite compares with all the wonderful things that you can find in Singapore. Andy Eason, Estelle commented, Beckrey Noro was introduced to an unfamiliar wing-back role, slap bang in front of 2,000 visiting fans. Didn't kind of join the dots for that one. He's inexperienced and not a defender. Yeah, it's an interesting take. Hadn't thought of that. Derek Flowers. Martin was a striker. He should be telling players to expect a cross into the box and be ready to attack the ball. Balls fizzed in, I would say, rather than fizzled, Derek. I think they were good low crosses and no one was near the ball. We agree with the overall sentiment. To be fair, I cannot not believe that Martin doesn't drill into his players to attack that far post when there's a low cross coming from the other side. Greza Maxwell, is Macari carrying an injury? Not that I'm aware of. Derek Flowers, when a keeper goes down, players should be made to stand in the centre circle. I think that solves half of the problem, but it doesn't solve the 50% where the game momentum is completely changed. That was a new one. Trish Riley thought we were having a very good spell in the second half. Welcome, Trish, by the way. Till the momentum totally killed by the farcical injury stroke cramp of their goalie. Hopefully, this will be sorted in the close season. Fraser Dodds, Fraser says, that ref didn't have the courage to get the injured player to walk off in the corner. Instead, delays the match while he walks across the pitch. Yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier. I actually thought, more or less up until the red card, I thought the ref was fine. You know, I think he tried to let the game flow, tried to play advantage. I don't think there were any real howler decisions that antagonised either sets of fans. And yet that red card was the precursor really to by the time you had the stoppage time in, 20 minutes of just kind of carnage and madness at the end, where clearly Grimsby are going to play the ref as much as Notts County, and they seemed to win every time as they were playing the ref, and he seemed to buy everything. He seemed to fundamentally lose control of the game. And by and large, he became the focal point every 30 seconds of the last 20 minutes. Done what he's done. Nothing we can do about it now. St Helens Magpie need to get Bedo on a longer term deal. Greza Maxwell is not letting it go. Keller must be one of the worst keepers in Scotland since Alan Ruff in the late 70s, early 80s. Keller speaks well of you when you were in goal for West Indies Cavaliers, Greza, and letting them all fly in past you. Ian Cooksey, with Jatta and Ndlovu out, Dennis has got to control himself as we can't afford to lose another striker. That's an interesting point. Yeah. Echo that totally. Trish Riley again, goalie off for 30 seconds like any other player, and they either play with no keeper or put an outfield player in. Will that stop it? If that rule was ever brought in, then it would, but I don't think the authorities would ever allow that rule. Something has to be done. It's becoming, as I said, I think it's the right adjective to use. It's becoming farcical now. It's becoming farcical. Don't get us wrong, Trish. We should do it as well when we need to. Be totally. Oh, I've got a thumb up there. We do it as well. You've got to change the rule to stop people abusing the momentum of the game of football. Which I think was kind of IFAB yesterday in terms of the timed substitutions, that they're going to now be on the clock, so to speak. And there were other initiatives designed to, if you like, speed up the game in the sense of not allowing so many longer delays when the ball is out of play, or treatments, or substitutions. One of my clients, Major League Soccer, they've trialed this whole situation with timed substitutions, injury protocols, and it's worked very well in Major League Soccer. And they are now being adopted, some of those, by IFAB yesterday, and you will see those in the World Cup. You'll see those in the World Cup. So we'll see if that can help keep the ball in play with less stoppages, and make for the momentum of the game to continue unabated rather than too many stops and starts. JJ Aviation, Ollie Pearce is one to raid next season. I think he's on 30 goals already. NCFC 1862, morning all from a sunny but uncertain Kuwait. Scary times here. Hope you are okay in Kuwait, and whether that is business or pleasure. I'm sure it's not much pleasure at the minute. Hope you are able to get back safely as quickly as is practically possible. NCFC also, he thinks it's funny or doesn't like it that Alasanya is a lasagna, Jatta. $64,000 question. Was told the club were targeting Walsall for him, but I've not had any particular further information to that. Not actually seen him on the training ground anywhere yet. Has anyone? Magic Boots Sagana. Fingers crossed. We've got a direct Singapore flight today from Heathrow. Well, I hope you get in the airs, and I hope you get to Singapore, and I hope you have a lovely time in Singapore, which is a wonderful place. Radiv Ramovic is very much a local legend there, the former Notts keeper, for what he did as the Singapore national coach. Bass went down on a few occasions last season, says Greza. Yeah, look, I totally agree, Greza. Look, we should do it as well, because you can, and everybody else's. Don't take the moral high ground in these situations. Ian Cooksey, these keepers going down is pure and blatant cheating. Let's call it out for what it is. I agree, Cookie, and that's what really brave referee. Go over and give him a yellow card, and you just see what happens. It would ignite a huge, huge debate. A huge debate. Be interesting. Won't happen, but be interesting. Right, I virtually caught up with all your messages, and there have been plenty of them so far this morning. So then, I think it's interesting. We always talk about, if not overreacting, we get really high when we're winning games. We win 6 on the spin, and we're going to reel Bromley in and win the league. Now, as a result of yesterday, it's playoffs wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, look, going back to one of the opening gambits, I still think this is a blanket finish, and personally, I still think there are more than 5 teams going for these 3 places. In the context of a quarter of the season still to go. It's a lot of points. It's a lot of twists and turns. It still wouldn't surprise. We've written Salford off. They won yesterday. They've got to play us. Cole Robinson. It is still feasible for them to be challenging, in my opinion, for the autos. Everyone goes through good spells. Everyone goes through bad spells. I just really, really hope now that we do not go on a little poor run of form. We keep talking about, our fixtures aren't too bad. Bromley's are terrible. Look, it's gossip. Doesn't matter. It don't matter who you are playing. It's how we look after our own business. Probably not too many people thought we would lose yesterday. It's interesting, and I shall remind Stell of this on Monday night show. When we were over the road having a chat beforehand, Stell was very upbeat. Really, really fancied us to win yesterday. And let's be honest, as a professional, one of the top 10 Notts County all-time goal scorers, he knows a hell of a lot more about professional football than any of us. We are all amateurs. But obviously still professional instincts yesterday were a long way off, right? It just shows you no one can predict anything. And to be fair to Grimsby, was it 1 defeat in 11? They've had them cup runs, haven't they, which must have been quite energy sapping, and moving fixtures around and playing 2 games a week. It's Walsall is tricky. We're all going to say, because Walsall are on a terrible run, blah 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 blah. I still very, very much in the melting pot for me, but I think we desperately need to get out this year. We desperately need to get out this year. Andy Easom, Notts cricketer Liam Patterson-White is with Andrew Flintoff and the England Lions squad in the UAE. He's witnessed some very frightening sights as they are confined to a safe area in their hotel. Ian Cooksey has been in contact with Jonathan. And I think Jonathan Hammocks, as we know, is a regular. And I don't really want to go too much into this because I don't know what didn't happen. But I think Ian has been in touch with him, and it said it shook him up quite a bit. And so, if anyone's connected with Jonathan, please drop him a message on Facebook just to check in on him, and hopefully Jonathan will be in touch with us on the show to give us any update that might be needed on Monday evening. Ian Cooksey, Walsall beat informed Shrewsbury. Great result for them yesterday. Indeed, it was. Grimsby have Salford and Bromley at home this week. Yes, other clubs will be taking points off of but the old adage, we have to take care of our own business. We are missing key players down the whole spine of our team at the minute, and that's hurting us. No Jatta, no Norburn, no Palmer. We need some of those back, and quickly, to be honest. To be fair, when you look at the run of wins, we cope well without Alessandro. I think it's catching up. Well, I think one of our posters was talking about, we won't look dangerous in front of goal. Alessandro is our point, he's our point man, in the box, in and around the finishing, leading the line, and he's the best one we've got at it. So we need him back. And get those back, and hopefully we can start to fire again. But these are challenges that a 46-game league season throw at you. So I'm not panicking. I wouldn't say I'm worried. I would have said yesterday, as a result of the red, it was an average day at the office up until that point, and it became a bad day at the office when we went down to 10 men and conceded a late goal. I don't think in the grand scheme of things or context, it's something that says we've now shot our bolt or we're going to go into terminal decline, because we weren't that bad. And you would like to think that between now and the end of the season, there wouldn't be too many games when we have neither Jatta nor Norburn or Palmer. And I think any one of those three, probably particularly Jatta and Norburn, based on current performance, any one of those two in the side yesterday, I think it's different. But it's ifs, buts, and maybes. Anyway, so that's enough of my ramblings. Thank you very much for participating this morning. Hope you can go about your business not too deflated after the weekend. It was the highest crowd of the season, wasn't it? Which I think we'd all expected, 12,500. So well done to everyone turning up yesterday. Traffic was a nightmare, wasn't it, after the game, with them shutting the road, I have to say. It took ages getting out and about. But onwards and upwards. It's Walsall away next weekend. Should have a decent away following there. I think the tickets are still left for that one. We've got the whole end, and then we've got seats down the side as well this time. Not sure if we had them last time. So that should be a good atmosphere. Let's hope that our walking wounded can get patched up and get ready for next Saturday. Suspect we won't know anything about whether the likes of Jatta, Norburn and Palmer will be involved until Adam Hassel grills Martin Patterson in his Friday press briefing. But let's see what happens. Thanks as always to our official partners, JH Accountants, the Big Shed over the road, and the Trent Navigation. Thank you all for popping in yesterday and having a chat and having a catch up with everyone. Take care, and we'll be back with Mark Stallard on Monday evening for the Monday Night Magpie Live. Cheers for now. Bye bye.